This is the fourth video on Robert Lind's very interesting essay on not being a philosopher. In this video, we will discuss the last two paragraphs. In the earlier paragraphs, we found that the author has cited many examples to bring home the point that it is not a common man's job to imitate philosophers. What philosophers say, what they preach, these things appear to be very interesting, very agreeable, very nice, but all these are only in theory. When it comes to practice, common man finds it difficult to act like a philosopher. In the next two paragraphs that we will study in this video, we will find the author drawing a conclusion, and here again he will continue with his humor. He will carry on his presentation through humor, and the end is really something very dramatic. Let us wait till the end of this video to see the beautiful end. So, the next paragraph begins with these lines. In spite of this, however, most of us cannot help believing that the philosophers were right when they proclaimed, amid all their differences, that most of the things we bother about are not worth bothering about. So, here again in this line, the author is using a sentence in which one grammatical aspect that we discussed in one of my earlier videos, the same thing we get it here again. Most of us cannot help believing that most of us cannot help believing. A similar sentence we got earlier where we got such a thing, help, then bar by ng, and we discussed it that here something interesting about grammar is implied, that we can remove this help by but. The moment we use but instead of help, then what else we need to do? If we remove help and we use but, and we have to write believe, we can either say most of us cannot help believing, or we can say most of us cannot but believe. Cannot but believe, or cannot help believing, they mean that we have no other choice but to believe. We must believe. What should we believe? Most of us cannot help believing that the philosophers were right. In earlier paragraphs we found that philosophers' principles, their teachings, their messages appear to be very interesting, very brilliant, but in practice we cannot follow them. The author is telling here, in spite of this, although we find it difficult on our part to follow the philosophers' principles, still the author said, most of us must believe that philosophers were right. Although their teachings are not for us, they are not for people like us to practice, still we must believe that philosophers were right. There are many philosophers, they may have different opinions on different things, they may have their differences, but in spite of all their differences, in one point they all agree. What is this common point? They proclaimed among all their differences that most of the things we bother about are not worth bothering about. Yes, when philosophers say, different philosophers have different opinions on different issues, in spite of all their differences, on one point they are united. What is this point? That most of the things we bother about are not worth bothering about. Most of the things that we look for, we are eager to have, do not deserve such kind of attention. It means most of the things that we common people are mad after, we eagerly wait to possess those things. Actually, we should not eagerly wait to possess those things. Most of the things we long for, most of the things we are very much eager to have are not that worthwhile things, they are not that useful things, they are not that nice things that we should be very fond of having. It is easier to believe that oneself is a fool than that Socrates was a fool. When you find that Socrates said something and you cannot follow it, then the author said it is easier to believe yourself to be a fool. How come you can say someone like Socrates was a fool? You may not follow his principle, but you do not have the right, or you should not have the guts to say Socrates was a fool. So it is easier to believe that oneself is a fool than that Socrates was a fool. And yet, if he was not right, he must have been the greatest fool who ever lived. And if he was not right in what he said, then he must have been the greatest fool. If he was right, then he was definitely a philosopher. We do not have any right to call him a fool. Rather, when we find that we cannot follow his principle, rather let us call ourselves fool. The truth is, nearly everybody is agreed that such men as Socrates and Epictetus were right in their indifference to external things. Even men earning 10,000 pounds a year and working for more would admit this. This is the hypocrisy of man, the author is pointing out. That human beings, they say one thing, they do the other thing. There is no uniformity in their words and actions. That is something, a very common trend among human beings. The author is pointing out to this. He is saying that everybody will say that Socrates and Epictetus and any other philosopher, they were right when they said that be indifferent to material things. Socrates, Epictetus, or any such philosopher, when they advised people to be indifferent to material possessions, we will all say yes, they are right in saying such things. We say this. But at the same time, you will find people, one who is earning 10,000 pound a year, so huge an amount of money he is earning. At the same time, he is again trying to earn more. It means he is not still satisfied. He is not still contented. He is still eager to earn more. His want is not still fulfilled. His demand is not still fulfilled. He wants more money, more property. Someone, in spite of earning so huge amount of money, is still willing to earn more money. And again he is saying, yes, Socrates or any other philosopher was right when he said, be indifferent to material possessions. This is an example of human nature, and this is not a good thing. In one sense, it may be called something, it is some hypocritical trend, that you yourself are not satisfied after earning a huge amount of money, still you need more, and you are appreciating, you are saying, yes, Socrates or any other philosopher was right when they said, be indifferent to material possessions. Yet, even while admitting it, most of us would be alarmed if one of our dearest friends began to put the philosophy of Epictetus into practice too literally. Another thing is that we appreciate many things. When you come to know that someone, he earns a huge amount of money and 90% of his money he donates for human welfare, for social welfare, only 10% he keeps and somehow he manages his livelihood, he just supports his family, and the maximum amount he spends on social welfare. You will love it, you will appreciate, you will tell others, that people will be inspired. But if you find that your own brother or someone from your own family, someone very close to you has started doing such a thing, spending all his earning for social welfare, keeping a little amount for himself, will you be happy with that? No. This means that we are happy, we appreciate when other people do something philosophical, something great. But when someone who is close to you starts doing it, you start ridiculing him, you start abusing him, you start criticizing him. This is what the author is saying. Yet, even while admitting it means that be indifferent to material possession. The teaching that most philosophers say, we agree that yes, they are right in saying this. When we say that they are right in saying this, while admitting it, most of us would be alarmed if one of our dearest friends began to put the philosophy of Epictetus into practice too literally. Epictetus, when he said be indifferent to material possession, we are happy with it, we appreciate it. But when we find that someone very close to us has started practicing Epictetus, he is able to practice, then we are not happy with that. What we regard as wisdom in Epictetus, we should look on as insanity in an acquaintance, or perhaps not in an acquaintance, but at least in a near relation. What Epictetus does, you appreciate it and you call it wisdom. But when someone very close to you, a member of your own family, your own brother or son starts doing the same thing, then you call it insanity, it is madness. The same thing done by Epictetus is wisdom, you appreciate. The same thing when someone close to you starts doing it, you call it insanity, you call it madness. I am sure that if I became indifferent to money and comfort and all external things as Epictetus, and reasoned like him with a happy smile over the loss of a watch or a fairly expensive overcoat, my relations would become more perturbed than if I became a successful company promoter with the most materialistic philosophy conceivable. The author is elaborating this point only. He says that if I become indifferent like Epictetus to material things, and like Epictetus, I also give reason why I am indifferent to material possessions, then I think that it is my own people who will become concerned. They will become perturbed about what happened to this man. Why has he become like this? He is earning money and still he is saying that be indifferent to material things. He has started acting or behaving like a philosopher. Your own people will start feeling uneasy, feeling concerned. On the other hand, if I become a company promoter and I go for earning more money, I become very materialistic, then my own people will be happy with it. And it is the same people who again say, yes, Epictetus or Socrates, they were right when they say be indifferent to material possessions. Think, for example, of the reasoning of Epictetus over the thief who stole his iron lamp. One thief had stolen Epictetus's iron lamp, and how Epictetus consoled himself when he lost his iron lamp. See, the philosophy of Epictetus. These are the words quoted from Epictetus. He bought a lamp for a very high price. Epictetus is speaking about the thief who had stolen his lamp. Epictetus saying that this thief had bought a lamp for a very high price. Actually, the thief had stolen his lamp, but he is using the word bought. In the opinion of Epictetus, the thief has not stolen. It is not a case of stealing. He has bought it. You may think, how come a thief has taken something? How can you use the word buy for it? Where is the purchase here? He did not pay any money. But Epictetus said, no, the thief has actually bought it. It means, although he has taken it secretly, no money was paid, but he has paid something more than money. He bought a lamp for a very high price. Any ordinary person would say, the thief has stolen the lamp. Epictetus said, no, he had actually bought it. While stealthily or secretly taking my lamp like a thief, he actually bought it. He had to pay a price for it. What is the price? For a lamp, he became a thief. If you buy a thing, for example, if you buy a shirt and you pay some 1000 rupees. So, in the case of stealing the lamp of Epictetus, the thief had actually bought it. This is what Epictetus is saying. He bought my lamp. How? What did he lose? You lose 1000 rupees when you buy a shirt. It is a kind of losing. You pay the money to someone, the money is no more yours, you lose it and you gain a shirt. Loss of 100 rupees, gaining of a shirt. Here Epictetus said, when the thief took my lamp, he actually paid a price. He got my lamp, but he lost. What did he lose? He lost his identity as a human being, as an honest human being. He became known as a thief. At least to me, he is a thief. To the people, those who have come to know, in their eyes, this man is a thief. So for a lamp he became a thief. For a lamp he became faithless. For a lamp he became bestial. Bestial means like a beast. This is what seemed to him to be profitable. Epictetus is consoling himself. See the thief, the unlucky fellow, the stupid fellow. He thought he has taken my lamp and he has obtained something. In fact, he has lost. For a lamp, he has lost many things. What did he lose? He became a thief. He became known as a thief. Loss of his honesty. He became faithless. People have identified him to be someone who cannot be believed, who cannot be trusted. For a lamp, he has acted like a beast. At the cost of so many things, at the cost of so many human qualities, he has got the lamp. And the man, he thought, this lamp is profitable. It is not profitable. This is how Epictetus justifies, and he consoles himself at the loss of an iron lamp. Now, the author is saying, Robert Lind is saying, the reasoning is sound. Yes, the way Epictetus has reasoned at the loss of his iron lamp, which was stolen by a thief, Robert Lind said, the reasoning is sound, yet neither individually nor as a society do we live in that contempt of property on which it is based. One very nice phrase is used here, contempt of property. What is this contempt of property? Contempt, is when you do not love a thing, when you dislike a thing, when you very much dislike a thing, contempt. Contempt of property means you dislike property. You do not like property or money or wealth at all. How can one have such kind of reasoning? How can one console himself when his lamp or anything else is lost? A thief has stolen his lamp or his mobile phone or anything. How can you console yourself like this, that the thief has not stolen it, he has bought it at the cost of his honesty, he has become known as a thief, he has become known as faithless, he has become known as acting like a beast, and he thought it is something profitable. Unlucky fellow he is, you feel pity for him. When can you have such kind of attitude? If you have contempt towards property, if you dislike property, if you have no fondness, if you do not like material things at all, then only you can have this kind of opinion. So, the author is saying that although Epictetus' reasoning is sound, but this reasoning is based on something called contempt of property. Yet neither individually nor as a society do we live in that contempt of property on which it is based. Epictetus' philosophy is based on contempt of property. If you have contempt of property, if you dislike property like anything, if you are indifferent to material possessions, then only you can have such idea in your mind. Then only you can console yourself at the loss of a lamp or anything. But the author is saying that this contempt of property, as an individual or as a society, we do not possess. We are not contempt towards property. We do not dislike property like this. Epictetus' philosophy is acceptable if people have contempt of property in their mind. But as a society or as an individual, we are not having this kind of attitude towards possession of material things. That is why Epictetus' principles, his teaching is not applicable to all of us. The author is saying a few saints do. There are a few saints who have this kind of contempt of property. They denounce worldly things, they abandon their domestic life, they become saint, and they no longer are fond of material possessions. For them, this kind of philosophy is okay. A few saints do, but even they are at first a matter of great concern to their friends. Earlier also the author said the same thing. A saint, a person may be able to console himself at the loss of such a thing. He may become very indifferent to material possessions, but even if he becomes, his own people, his close relatives, his members of his own family, they will be concerned about this kind of attitude in him. When the world is at peace, we hold the paradoxical belief that the philosophers were wise men, but that we should be fools to imitate them. When the world is at peace, it means when there is nothing wrong happening, normal life is going on. The author said that we have a paradoxical belief. What is it? On the one hand, we say philosophers' views are right, and on the other hand, we say these cannot be followed. If philosophers' views are right, why shouldn't we follow it? But we human beings have a paradoxical belief in this regard. We say philosophers' views are right, but this cannot be followed by common people like us. We hold the paradoxical belief that the philosophers were wise men, but that we should be fools to imitate them. They were wise, but if we follow their wisdom, we will just act like a fool. We believe that while philosophers are worth reading, material possession things are worth bothering about. Yes, again, this is something paradoxical. We say philosophers are worth reading, we should read them, we should get lessons from them. At the same time, we should also go for material possession. Material possession we must have. So, if you go for material possession, how come you are following philosophers? This is again a paradoxical stand by human beings. It is as though we enjoyed wisdom as a spectacle, a delightful spectacle on a stage which it would be unseemly for the audience to attempt to invade. For common human beings, the author is saying very nicely that we consider wisdom to be something like a mirror, something like a spectacle. If there is a glass, there is a mirror, you see things, but you cannot go beyond it, you cannot invade it. Just you see on the screen some images, you cannot touch it, you cannot go and embrace it, you cannot have it. Wisdom is something like that for us. It looks beautiful, it looks bright, it looks very nice, but we cannot make it our own, we cannot go and invade it. Just it is something nice to see. That's what wisdom is for us. So far as accepting it, embracing it, following it, and that is not our job. That is what our attitude is. We consider wisdom or philosophical principles as something like a spectacle. Were the Greeks and the Romans made differently? How about the Greeks and Romans who had philosophers like Socrates, Epictetus, etc. among them? Greeks and Romans, they had philosophers among them in different stages of history. Were they like us, that they also just appreciated the wisdom of philosophers but could not follow them, could not find it easy for them to follow? This is the question. Were the Greeks and the Romans made differently? Did the audiences of Socrates and Epictetus really attempt to become philosophers themselves, or were they like us? Were they like ourselves, hopeful of achieving wisdom not by practice but by a magic potion? Potion means some liquid that has some magic spell in it, magic power in it, a magic potion administered by a wiser man than they. Now the question is, yes, we find ourselves to be quite helpless. On the one hand, we find philosophers' views are quite brilliant, quite bright, quite nice, but when it comes to practice, we find we cannot follow it. So our view is that whatever philosophers say, they are all right, but so far as following them, that is not our job. Now the question is whether the audience of Socrates and Epictetus, whether those people who had seen these people, Socrates and Epictetus, in their lifetime, were they also like us, the way we find Epictetus or Socrates or any other philosopher to be someone who are to be respected and appreciated, but their principles we cannot follow. Was this the same attitude that the audience of Socrates and Epictetus have? This is the question. Did they also act like us, that the way Robert Lynn, I want to get wisdom without any effort. I just want to act like a philosopher in a ready-made way. I just want to get wisdom by reading books without any effort. Did those people living in Rome and Greece during the lifetime of Epictetus and Socrates, did they behave in this way like me? This is the question. To become wise without effort. Now coming to the conclusion, the author is saying, to become wise without effort by listening to a voice, by reading a book, it is at once the most exciting and the most soothing of dreams. The author is saying that just getting some ready-made wisdom, the way I have been looking for wisdom since my childhood, since my school days, the author is saying, to get wisdom in such a ready-made and easy way just by reading a book without any effort, it is nothing but a soothing dream. It is just a dream only. In dream you see many things which you cannot do in practical life. The author says the same thing is to get ready-made wisdom. To get ready-made wisdom just by reading a book or listening to someone's voice without making any effort on my own part. This is just nothing better than a dream. It is nothing real. In real life, this cannot ever be. This cannot take place. That you just read a book or listen to someone's lecture and then you instantly become wise. Being wise is not that easy a job. If you think that it can be possible, then you are just living in a world of dream only. The author is saying to become wise without effort by listening to a voice, by reading a book, it is at once the most exciting and the most soothing of dreams. In such a dream, I took down Epictetus, and behold, it was only a dream. What is this? The end is very nice. The author, either he was really, everything that he has described in this essay, everything happened in a dream. That may be one interpretation. Or it may be that the author has brought an end to this essay by saying that to act like a philosopher in practical life is something just like a dream. It is something that common human beings cannot do. You can appreciate philosophers, you can find their sayings to be really very attractive, very nice, but so far as practice is concerned, for common human beings, it is impossible. It is just a dream for them. It cannot be a reality for them. That is what the author has said, he has elaborated in this essay. The bottom line of what he said is that philosophers are the people who speak and act in the same way. What they say, they do. But common human beings like us, we say one thing, but we cannot always act accordingly. That is where we are different from philosophers. And this applies to ordinary human activities as well as unusual and very serious situations in life also. I hope this essay will make us create more interest in our mind to know more about other philosophers, what they say about life and how we are different from them. With this expectation, we are ending this video. Thank you very much.